Donald Trump, during his election campaign in 2016, spent a hell of a lot of time talking about China.
Right.
He was ridiculed for this. He was mocked for this. Most people who are not experts didn't even understand why he was talking about it. Somewhere in the periphery, people might have thought, well, he's talking about it because a lot of manufacturing jobs have gone to China.
Right.
But if you listen to some of his advisors, if you listen to some of the other people who talk about the threat that China poses to the rest of the world, economically more than anything, there are many more layers to it than that.
Right.
So lay that out for us.
Sure. Trump is a difficult to understand genius, and I look at the fact that he won in 2016. Of course, we're coming into the 2020 elections, and I predicted the Trump victory in 2016, so I'm in that business of predictive analytics. I have Trump as a strong favorite to win again. But one of the factors I look at his opponents, the media, the Democrats, the progressives, and I say, did they learn anything? Did they learn anything in 2016 so that they can do something different today and perhaps beat him? And so far, the answer is no. They haven't learned a thing.
Well, they've doubled down on all the crazy cultural stuff that got them in trouble in 2016.
That's exactly right. They've doubled down. That's a good way to put it. But no sign at all that that they've learned anything. But so I describe Trump's relationships with the media as the media are a herd of puppies, and Trump's the master with a red rubber ball. And he throws the ball, and all the puppies chase the ball. One of them fetches it and brings it back, and he says, very good. And he throws the ball over there, and they do the same thing. Meanwhile, he's doing serious stuff. So what's the ball? You know, Stormy Daniels, impeachment, collusion, Russiagate. These things are distractions, no substance to any of them. The media keeps chasing them. Meanwhile, what is Trump actually doing? The largest tax cut in history. He is remaking the federal judiciary, appointing judges at an unprecedented rate, taking control of the courts. And it's from a list produced by the Federalist Society. They're very staunch, reliable conservatives. And they picked them in the early 40s because it's a lifetime appointment. So you'll be on the bench 40 years from now. The Trump judiciary is going to run the United States long after, well, at least after I'm gone. You guys are younger, but for maybe 4 decades or so in the future. Trump owns the Fed. Trump came in, there were 2 vacancies on the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve. Why were there 2 vacancies? Well, Obama was so sure that Hillary was going to win that he didn't bother with the appointments. He said, well, I'll give him to Hillary. She'll appoint some strong hands. So Trump got 2 seats right off the bat. Then there were a couple of resignations. So that kind of went up to 4 seats. And then 1 more since then, plus promoting Jay Powell from a governor where he already was a governor before Trump to chairman. So Lael Brainerd is going to end up as the only non-Trump appointee on the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve. She must feel like a hostage when she goes into the room. But the point is, so Trump owns the Federal Reserve. He's taking control of the judiciary. He's burning the Code of Federal Regulations. I mean, literally burning it down so you can actually have some freedom. And the largest tax cut in history, and confronting China, and that was your point, Constantine. So the press is chasing the rubber ball. He's doing big stuff. That's really going to be world historic. So as it relates to China, so for 20 years, I would say the 1990s and the early 2000s, a little beyond that, really up until Trump, the globalist view, when I say global, I use these phrases, but I name names, you know, because we know who these people are. People like Jeffrey Sachs at Columbia University, Richard Haas at the Council on Foreign Relations, John Kerry, who was our Secretary of State, and of course President Obama, and President Bush. I don't see much difference between Bush and Obama on this point, but the globalist view was, okay, we know the Chinese are kind of bad guys. We know they're, you know, communists. But if we trade with them and open our doors and let them break the rules and let them steal our intellectual property with their low-cost, you know, Lego-style manufacturing assembly, they'll grow rich, and in the fullness of time, they'll be just like us. Once they taste the fruits and the benefits of capitalism, they'll gradually, you know, they might not be like a liberal democracy the next day, but they will move away from communism. And I said 20 years ago, I said, no, you've got this exactly wrong. You don't understand the communists. And people go, oh, Jim, you know, the communists, it's just a couple 80-year-olds on the Politburo. They'll die soon. You know, the communism is anachronistic in China today. I said, no, they're hardcore communists. Well, so all this accommodation, so, you know, China in 1994 does a maxi devaluation of the yuan. 2001, they joined the WTO, proceeded to break every rule and every promise. It's kind of like getting into a club and you go, you know, exclusive club, you go before the membership committee and they say, well, we're going to admit you to the club, but, you know, we have a very strict dress code. And you say, yes, I understand. I'll adhere to the dress code. And you show up the next day in like flip-flops and a T-shirt. You know, that's China. They show up in the T-shirt and say, you know, give me a drink. 2016, the IMF admitted them to these small group of 5 currencies that are used to calculate the value of world money, SDR, you know, the special drawing rights, world money printed by the IMF. But you had to make certain promises to do that, including one that you would have an open capital account. They immediately proceeded to close the capital account. In other words, China's willing to lie, cheat, steal. We know that. But what was interesting is that the U.S. was willing to tolerate it for the sake of a you know, chimera or a mirage of a more liberal China, and that hasn't happened. The opposite has happened. President Xi was made president for life. They had a 2 5-year term rotation, and in your second 5-year term, you had to appoint your successor who would smoothly come in and take over at the end of your 5-year term, second 5-year term. That's gone. Xi is president for life.